A bit of disappointing news. Despite recent progress, Flight 9 now seems unlikely to launch this week, just as Musk hinted. Still, Flight 9 could feature SpaceX's most advanced flight plan yet, potentially shaping the future of Starship missions. So, why the delay? When might it launch? And what key milestones can we expect? Let's dive into all of it on today's episode of Great SpaceX. Starship Flight 9 is currently the most anticipated launch in the entire space industry. After all, the first two flights of the year, while impressive in their own right, faced significant setbacks. Now with Flight 9 on the horizon, everyone is hoping for a smooth, successful mission that demonstrates how far SpaceX has come with its Starship program. Many predictions initially pointed to a launch this week, especially after Musk posted his usual teaser, flight next week. However, things haven't gone exactly to plan. Shortly after B14 was moved to the launch pad, it was surprisingly rolled back to the production site. While SpaceX hasn't officially explained why, this usually indicates some kind of unexpected issue or adjustment that needs attention. On the other hand, S-35 remains at the pad undergoing final checks, including installation of its payload and the flight termination system. Realistically, this means that, at best, only one or both stages could be moved to the pad this week, but a full launch is not going to happen within that time frame. Supporting this delay, recent safety alerts and flight notices have begun to indicate a launch window starting on May 27th. The FAA's notice to airmen, or NOTAM, and the Coast Guard's local notice to mariners, or LNM, have both flagged this date for potential activity in the Gulf landing zones, aligning with a possible SpaceX launch. It's important to note that May 26th is Memorial Day, a federal holiday in the US during which most operations, including launch logistics, are paused. So if SpaceX doesn't launch before that, it'll have to wait until after. The good news, this pushes the potential launch window through June 2nd, meaning there's still a chance Flight 9 could lift off before the end of the month. And while many are hoping to see a launch on the 27th, a powerful return after the holiday, it's equally possible that the date slips a few days to allow extra preparation. As always, success is the top priority and SpaceX won't rush it. As for me, I'm predicting a launch on the 30th. What do you think? Drop your prediction in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel as we continue tracking SpaceX's exciting journey into the future of spaceflight. As we mentioned earlier, everyone is eagerly awaiting a successful Starship Flight 9, and the anticipation is building. If everything goes according to plan, this flight could mark another major milestone in the evolution of SpaceX's fully reusable launch system. So what exactly will we see if the mission unfolds successfully? Let's break down the full flight script that SpaceX has carefully designed for this critical test flight. First off, the flight is scheduled to take place in the late afternoon at Starbase, with liftoff expected between 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. local time. The process really begins about 75 minutes before liftoff when the flight director initiates the final readiness poll. If all systems are green, a go is given to start the propellant loading sequence. The fueling timeline is both precise and efficient. It begins with liquid methane and liquid oxygen loading into Ship 35. Around T minus 46 minutes, liquid oxygen begins flowing into the ship, followed closely by methane at T minus 43 minutes. A few minutes later, the B14 propellant load begins, with methane entering at 41 minutes and 22 seconds and liquid oxygen following at 35 minutes and 35 seconds. These cryogenic fluids are loaded into the massive tanks that power Starship's Raptor engines. By T minus 3 minutes and 20 seconds and T minus 2 minutes and 50 seconds, propellant loading wraps up for both stages. During this window, engine chill down occurs on both the booster and ship. This crucial step prevents thermal shock damage by gradually cooling the engines to match the cryogenic fuel temperatures before ignition. Now, at T minus 30 seconds, the flight director will conduct one final verification to ensure that all systems are still go for launch. Then comes a unique feature. About 10 seconds before liftoff, the deluge system, or flame deflector, activates, spraying high-pressure water from beneath the pad to dampen the heat and force of the engine plume. It's like a giant steel showerhead, vital to protecting the launch infrastructure from the raw power about to be unleashed. Then comes the moment we've all been waiting for. 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. The 33 Raptor engines on B-14 ignite with a combined force of over 7,000 tons of thrust, lifting Starship off the pad and shaking the Texas coast. What makes this even more exciting is that many of these engines are reused from earlier flights, making this a significant test of SpaceX's reusability goals. As Starship climbs, it will reach max Q, the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, at around T plus 1 minute and 2 seconds. This is always a critical point in any launch as it tests the structural integrity of the rocket under peak stress. Starship has passed this point without issue in previous flights, but it still demands precision engineering and thorough preparation. Following this, Starship will continue ascending and accelerating until around T plus 2 minutes and 32 seconds, when the vehicle prepares for MECO, or main engine cutoff. At this moment, 30 of the booster's engines shut down, leaving just the 3 center engines running. This helps maintain stability as the upper stage, Ship 35, ignites its engines. The 2 stages will then separate using the hot staging ring, a hardware innovation that helps direct heat and pressure from the upper stage's ignition to safely push the ship away from the booster. After separation, the 2 stages begin distinct journeys with different objectives and challenges ahead. For S-35, the flight proceeds much like previous Starship test flights. Over the next 6 minutes or so, S-35 will maintain stable operations, steadily climbing toward orbit without any extraordinary maneuvers. The focus here is on ensuring the vehicle's systems remain stable and perform nominally as it ascends beyond Earth's atmosphere. Meanwhile, B-14 embarks on a more dynamic and complex phase of flight. Just after separating from the upper stage, B-14 will initiate a boost back burn at around 2 minutes and 45 seconds. This involves reigniting its middle ring engines to slow and stabilize the booster, beginning its controlled descent back toward the landing zone. This burn lasts approximately 45 seconds and ends near T plus 3 minutes and 30 seconds, when engines on the middle and inner rings are sequentially shut down, preparing the booster for its next flight phase. Following the boost back burn, B-14 enters a free fall phase lasting about 3 minutes, during which no engines are firing. This portion of flight is sometimes referred to as transonic, as the booster transitions through the speed of sound on its way down. During this free fall, the hot staging ring, which facilitated the earlier separation and ignition, is jettisoned to reduce mass, improving the efficiency of the final landing maneuvers. As B-14 nears the landing zone, specifically at about T plus 6 minutes and 37 seconds, the landing burn sequence begins. 13 engines, those in the middle and inner rings, ignite to reduce velocity and precisely guide the booster during descent. These engines work in conjunction with the grid fins to ensure controlled steering and braking. Once the booster has slowed sufficiently and is at an appropriate altitude, most of the middle engines shut down, leaving only the 3 gimbaled engines in the inner ring active to provide fine-tuned control and support the final approach. This flight will mark a notable change from the last 4 attempts. SpaceX will not attempt to catch B-14 with the Mechazilla arms on the launch tower. Instead, the booster will intentionally land in the sea. Although it won't be recovered intact for refurbishment, the controlled water landing simplifies operations, allowing SpaceX to focus resources and attention on the success of Ship 35's orbital mission. While it's a bit sad that B-14 won't have a grand retirement on display like Starhopper did, this step represents an important strategic shift towards streamlined operations for the next phase of Starship development. With B-14's part complete, the spotlight returns to S-35, where the next set of critical mission events will unfold. At around T plus 8 minutes and 44 seconds after approximately 6 minutes of powered flight, the Starship Engine Cutoff, or SECO, will occur. In this step, the vacuum-optimized engines will shut down first, followed by the sea-level engines. S-35 will then coast without thrust for roughly 9 minutes as it continues its journey. At about 17 or 18 minutes into flight, when S-35 is projected to be over the Indian Ocean, it will perform a payload deployment test. According to SpaceX's disclosures, these payloads will not reach orbit and will subsequently fall back to Earth. Warnings and notifications will be issued well in advance to ensure safety in the landing zones for both the payload and the Starship. After payload deployment, S-35 will spend an additional 30 minutes in orbit conducting another key experiment, the relight of one or more engines in space. This test, first successfully performed on Flight 6, verifies the ability to restart engines after coasting, a critical capability for future missions following those orbital operations at about T plus 47 minutes, 22 seconds, S-35 will begin its return to Earth, initiating the most challenging phase of the mission, re-entry. During this period, lasting approximately 15 to 16 minutes, the vehicle will experience intense aerodynamic heating with temperatures soaring above 1500 degrees Celsius. The upgraded heat shield system, a major improvement since Starship's early flights, will play a crucial role in protecting the vehicle's structure from thermal damage. In addition to the heat shield, the enhanced forward flaps are designed to improve atmospheric control and help prevent damage experienced in prior re-entries. These flaps allow for better aerodynamic maneuvering and attitude control as Starship transitions from hypersonic speeds down to subsonic flight. At about T plus 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 4 seconds, S-35 will enter the transonic and subsonic flight regimes, initiating the landing flip maneuver. The flaps adjust the vehicle's attitude to vertical, preparing it for touchdown. Shortly after, the landing burn begins, with engines firing to slow descent and steer the ship for a gentle splashdown. Thanks to these careful controls, S-35 will softly touch down on the water's surface, concluding the flight. Obviously, we are paying close attention to the Flight 9 launch date as well as the journey it will undertake. Everything depends on what SpaceX is preparing. I hope that after nearly 3 months, SpaceX has resolved all issues and will reward our patience with a new masterpiece in the aerospace industry. There have been unpredictable turns in the space world. The FAA has released updates on the Flight 8 investigation and Flight 9 modifications, showing SpaceX still has work to do. Meanwhile, hardware progress has taken some unexpected twists. Will the launch stay on schedule? Axiom 4, meanwhile, faces a slight delay, and in Australia, Gilmore Space's Eris rocket aborted just before liftoff. Late May is shaping up to be a crucial period for Starship. For weeks, various updates from key agencies have hinted at this time frame, and now, with the latest update from Elon Musk, the picture is becoming even clearer. However, while Musk's insights are valuable, the final word still lies with the FAA and SpaceX. Until they provide definitive confirmation, the actual launch date remains uncertain. Fortunately, after a long stretch of silence, the FAA has finally issued a much-anticipated update, and it's a big one. This announcement contains 2 major developments that could significantly shape the future of Starship, both in the near term and the long run. The first major point is encouraging. The FAA has approved license modifications for the upcoming Flight 9 Starship mission. According to the FAA, this modification includes the green light to increase the number of Starship launches at Boca Chica, Texas, from 5 to as many as 25 per year. That's a massive step forward for SpaceX, not just for this mission, but for the overall Starship program. With these changes, SpaceX can now move ahead with planned innovations for Flight 9. The FAA clarified this further in the update's 3rd paragraph. For the Starship Flight 9 mission, the FAA is expanding the size of aircraft and maritime hazard areas both in the US and other countries. This is a result of the FAA requiring SpaceX to revise the flight safety analysis following the prior launch mishap, and because SpaceX intends to reuse a previously launched Super Heavy booster rocket for the first time. This confirms what many had been speculating. Flight 9 will mark the first time SpaceX attempts to fly a reused Super Heavy booster, specifically B-14. This is a major milestone. Starship's long-term success hinges on full reusability, and this launch represents a pivotal step toward that goal. Looking further ahead, the approval for up to 25 launches per year signals the FAA's growing confidence in SpaceX's capabilities. Although it's unlikely that SpaceX will hit that maximum number in 2025, with nearly half the year already gone, they're clearly on a trajectory to ramp up. If 3 or more Starship launches occur in the remaining months, it'll set the stage for a more aggressive pace in 2026. SpaceX doesn't need to reach 25 this year, They just need to demonstrate increasing momentum and reliability. It's also worth noting that SpaceX has shown a unique ability to continue launching even during mishap investigations. Unlike many other aerospace companies, they tend to move quickly, make adjustments, and resume operations without long delays. This flexibility will be crucial as they aim to hit their ambitious flight cadence. That future will begin with Flight 9, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The FAA also reminded everyone that no launch will happen until the Flight 8 mishap investigation is officially closed or the agency issues a return to flight determination. In their own words, however, SpaceX may not launch until the FAA either closes the Starship Flight 8 mishap investigation or makes a return to flight determination. The FAA is reviewing the mishap report SpaceX submitted on May 14th. Just days ago, sources had reported that SpaceX had not yet submitted its Flight 8 mishap report. Thankfully, that has changed. SpaceX submitted the necessary documentation on the 14th, but that means the FAA's review is still in its early stages. Until the agency finishes evaluating the report and determines the appropriate course of action, the Flight 9 launch remains on hold. That said, there's reason to be optimistic. The FAA's turnaround time has improved significantly since late 2024, and it's entirely possible the review could be completed in a matter of days. If the investigation concludes right as SpaceX rolls Flight 9 hardware to the pad, everything could align for a timely launch. Still, the actual launch date remains hard to pin down. While we have a clearer picture than before, much depends on the FAA's timeline and final decisions. Compounding this uncertainty are fluctuations in hardware readiness and shifting schedules within SpaceX itself. In summary, late May remains a target window for the highly anticipated Flight 9 launch, but for now, everything hinges on one final step: the FAA's response. Until then, we wait. The Starship launch timeline continues to shift, and with it, expectations are once again being recalibrated. Originally planned for the 19th of May, the launch date has now been tentatively pushed to the 20th or the 21st. However, even that may not be final. The most recent FAA space operations announcement regarding the observation aircraft now lists the primary launch target as the afternoon of the 22nd, and that's local time, which would be early 23rd for observers in the Indian Ocean region. What's more, the final available launch window has been extended to June 1st. While this still falls within the time frame previously hinted at by Elon Musk, the continuous delays are beginning to raise eyebrows. For some, these incremental adjustments suggest a lack of confidence in current readiness levels, casting doubt on whether the launch will happen this month at all. Adding to the complications is the approaching U.S. holiday Memorial Day, which falls on the 26th of May this year. Memorial Day is a major observance, and many operations across the country pause in recognition of the holiday. For SpaceX, this likely means that if the launch doesn't take place by around the 22nd to the 25th, it'll need to be postponed until after the holiday. With such a tight window, timing has become even more critical. Meanwhile, some unusual activity is also being observed with the hardware preparations at Starbase. A recent image captured what appears to be a Raptor engine being removed from Megabay 2, where Ship 35 is currently housed. This has sparked speculation. Could S-35 be experiencing engine trouble? Might it require a swap out or repair? Before drawing conclusions, it's important to remember that nothing has been confirmed. First, all test data for S-35 so far has been very encouraging. Second, the engine being transported could simply be an older unit that was replaced earlier and is now being moved elsewhere. And finally, there's also the possibility that the engine isn't related to S-35 at all. Another ship, S-36, has just completed cryogenic testing and is now undergoing engine installation. If any issues arose during that process, this Raptor could be the one being removed and replaced. As for B-14, things are also somewhat unclear. Recent road closures scheduled for the 15th to the 18th of May, from 10 in the evening to 2 in the morning and 12 midnight to 4 in the morning, respectively, indicate a planned movement from the pad to the factory. Currently, B-14 is the only major prototype that fits this movement profile. If the transport description is accurate, it could mean B-14 has encountered a problem and needs to be returned to the production site for inspection or repair. However, it's also possible that the road closure descriptions are simply mistaken. In fact, this has happened before. Previous schedules misidentified the direction of movement, such as when B-14's trip was incorrectly listed as from Massey to the pad. If the current listings are reversed, the more likely scenario is that a vehicle, possibly S-35, is being moved from the factory to the launch pad. If so, the May 18th window could mark a significant step toward launch readiness. With so many moving parts, including FAA approvals, road closures, hardware logistics, and scheduling conflicts, the Starship Flight 9 timeline remains fluid. While nothing is guaranteed, there's still hope that no unexpected setbacks occur, allowing SpaceX to pull off a launch before month's end. So, what do you think? Will Flight 9 launch this month or even as soon as next week, just as Musk recently hinted at? Drop a yes or a no in the comments down below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on SpaceX's incredible journey to space. Next, let's take a closer look at the recent delay of the Axiom 4 mission. Originally planned to launch on May 29th, the Axiom 4 mission has officially been postponed. On the 14th, NASA announced that the launch is now scheduled for the 8th of June at 9:11 a.m. Eastern. This new timeline gives the teams more breathing room to finalize mission details and ensure everything is ready for liftoff. In a statement, NASA explained the schedule adjustments provide more time to finalize mission plans, spacecraft readiness, and logistics. This delay was later confirmed by both Axiom and SpaceX. Axiom 4 marks the fourth mission in the collaborative series between NASA, Axiom Space, and SpaceX using the reliable Crew Dragon spacecraft. What makes this mission particularly notable is its international crew composition. 4 astronauts representing 4 different countries. This underscores a growing emphasis on global cooperation in space exploration. Currently, the Axiom 4 crew has completed all necessary training. Meanwhile, SpaceX is focused on final preparations, including rolling out the spacecraft and performing pre-launch testing. These steps are essential to ensuring mission success and crew safety. In addition to Axiom 4, 2 other key SpaceX missions have also been delayed. NASA announced that Crew 11, another Crew Dragon mission, will now target a late July launch. CRS-32, a cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station, is also delayed and currently scheduled for late August. These adjustments reflect the careful coordination required between multiple missions, spacecraft readiness, and logistical factors. Shifting from the US to the southern hemisphere, we now turn our attention to another delay, this time from Australia's Gilmour Space Technologies and its highly anticipated Eris rocket. The Eris rocket has captured considerable interest as it is poised to become Australia's first orbital launch vehicle. Gilmour Space has originally targeted May 15th for Eris's debut flight, however, an unexpected issue with the rocket's payload fairing caused the mission to be postponed. On social media, the company stated, "Last night during final checks, an unexpected issue triggered the rocket's payload fairing. No fuel was loaded, no one was hurt, and early inspections show no damage to the rocket or pad. Thankfully, safety systems functioned as designed and no one was injured." The company further explained that a replacement payload fairing will be sent from their factory in the Gold Coast after a full investigation is completed. As a result, Gilmour Space is pausing this launch campaign to fully resolve the issue. They added, "We're standing down from this test campaign to investigate and fix. A new date for Test Flight 1 will be announced once ready." The setback was reportedly due to a problem with the ground support equipment identified during overnight checks. Gilmour Space is now in an extended hold while working through the issue. If all goes well, the next launch opportunity could be as soon as Friday morning. Gilmour Space was founded in 2015 by brothers Adam and James Gilmour. Over the past decade, they've been developing the 25-meter-tall Eris rocket and building Australia's first orbital launch facility, the Bowen Orbital Spaceport, located on Queensland's north coast. The company's mission is to enable sovereign launch capabilities, which would mean more high-tech jobs, national security benefits, economic growth, and technological self-reliance for Australia. As Adam Gilmour noted, launching Australian-owned and controlled rockets from home soil means more high-tech jobs, greater security, economic growth, and technological independence. For this debut flight, the company isn't aiming for a flawless orbital insertion. Instead, their primary goals are to achieve liftoff, survive max Q, or the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, and if possible, reach space. The most important objective is data collection. Every second of the flight will help Gilmour Space refine the rocket's performance and reliability in future missions. Overall, despite these delays, the progress being made by both Axiom Space and Gilmour Space is commendable. These developments are not just about single launches, they represent meaningful steps forward in expanding global participation in space exploration. Let's keep watching as these ambitious missions evolve and reach toward their historic milestones. Catch me! Catch me! That's what Starship seems ready to say, and the world's eager to see it happen. Just as interest peaks, Musk reveals a major shift in plans, including key updates on the next phase of development. What did he say, and how is SpaceX gearing up for the challenge? At this moment, we're still eagerly awaiting Starship Flight 9, a mission carrying some of the most ambitious objectives in the program's history. Among these, the primary goal is to successfully land both stages, particularly the ship, in the ocean. But beyond the ocean landing, the ship must also complete several critical tasks: achieving orbit, deploying its payload, conducting an engine reignition in space, and surviving a controlled re-entry through Earth's atmosphere. However, all of these objectives are steps toward an even more groundbreaking milestone: catching the ship using Mechazilla's launch tower arms. This achievement will mark a major leap forward in SpaceX's pursuit of full rocket reusability, a game-changing advancement in spaceflight technology. If successful, it would be the first time a spacecraft of this scale is captured instead of splashing down or landing with legs, radically reducing turnaround time and refurbishment costs. Previously, Musk stated that SpaceX would need to complete at least one more successful ocean landing of the ship before attempting this complex tower catch maneuver. However, he hadn't given a specific timeline until now. In a recent update, Musk revealed, later this year, if fate smiles upon SpaceX, the ship will be caught by the tower just like the booster. This is a significant statement for a couple of reasons. First, it provides a clearer time frame, suggesting the tower catch might happen sometime after mid-2025. This is later than many fans and analysts, including myself, had predicted. For instance, I had estimated that the catch attempt would occur on Flight 10, assuming Flight 9 is successful. Musk's new timeline suggests the company is taking a more cautious and measured approach. Second, it's noteworthy how Musk tempered expectations with the phrase, "if fate smiles upon SpaceX." This uncharacteristically modest tone reflects a realistic understanding of the challenges ahead. Given the technical issues experienced during the first few flights this year, SpaceX is likely prioritizing reliability over speed. It's a wise move. Taking extra time to ensure that the vehicle performs flawlessly will be critical to the success and safety of any future catch attempt. Musk's tone also speaks volumes about his leadership evolution. Known for setting bold, sometimes outlandish targets in the past, this more grounded approach shows a maturing perspective. It suggests he has strong confidence in his team, but is also keenly aware of the immense complexity of what they're trying to achieve. Looking at the flight schedule and assuming SpaceX keeps up its pace of one launch every month or two, we can start narrowing down when a tower catch attempt might actually happen. A realistic window could fall around Flight 12 or 14. Flight 13 is expected to feature the S-39 and B-18 prototypes, likely the first of the upgraded V3 Starship line. Since this marks a major hardware revision, it's unlikely SpaceX would risk a tower catch on its very first outing. Flight 12, however, is expected to use S-38 and B-15 vehicles based on the proven V2 and V1 designs. These have already been tested and refined, making them strong candidates for trying high-risk maneuvers like the Mechazilla catch. Flight 14 is also worth considering. If it ends up being the second mission to use V3 hardware, SpaceX will have already gathered valuable data for Flight 13, potentially making it a safer and more informed moment for attempting the catch. Of course, this timeline is speculative and everything depends on how the next few flights unfold. But if all goes well, we may witness the historic moment of a Starship being caught by Mechazilla before the end of this year. What do you think? Which flight will make the first ship catch attempt? Leave your predictions in the comments section down below. After considering the timing of the first attempt to catch Starship's upper stage, known simply as SHIP, the next big question is, what exactly is SpaceX aiming to achieve with this ambitious maneuver? Musk provided a clear answer in a recent tweet. SpaceX plans to catch the ship with the launch tower, just like the booster. While this statement may sound straightforward, it carries enormous technical and engineering significance. SpaceX has already demonstrated successful catches of the Super Heavy booster with B-14 in Flight 7 and B-15 in Flight 8, achieving particularly smooth and precise landings. These missions showed that the company is quickly mastering the art of catching the first stage. Catching the ship is an entirely different level of difficulty. Unlike the booster, the ship is a fully orbital spacecraft packed with highly sensitive systems, including aerodynamic flaps and heat-resistant tiles. These components must not only survive a more intense journey, but also perform flawlessly throughout every stage of the mission. First comes orbital insertion. Before the ship can even think about returning, it has to reach orbit, a challenge that has proven tricky in recent flights. Achieving this requires perfect engine performance and a fully functional heat shield capable of enduring the extreme stress of ascent. Once in orbit, the ship is expected to carry out a series of operations, such as payload deployment and engine reignition. While these may be minimized or skipped during the first catch attempt, they're vital for Starship's long-term goals, like satellite delivery and future interplanetary missions. Then comes re-entry, arguably the most dangerous phase. The ship must withstand temperatures above 1500 degrees Celsius. The flaps have to control the vehicle's orientation and speed with precision, while the heat shield prevents catastrophic failure. After surviving that fiery descent, the ship still has to align itself perfectly for landing. And finally, there's the Mechazilla catch, the boldest step of all. Even if everything else has gone according to plan, catching the ship with Mechazilla's tower arms remains a massive challenge. The ship's unique shape, mass distribution, and flight profile make this far more complex than catching a booster. No other space organization has ever attempted anything like it. To successfully catch the Starship upper stage, or ship as we've come to know it by, with Mechazilla, SpaceX must make significant technical, logistical, and strategic preparations over the next few months. Achieving this feat, particularly on the first attempt, would mark a monumental milestone in aerospace history, and bring the company one step closer to full rocket reusability. The first crucial step is planning. SpaceX must determine which flight will attempt the first ship catch. This decision is vital not only for mission-specific preparations, but also because it intersects with the expected transition to newer Starship versions, such as V3. Knowing exactly which prototype will be involved allows for more targeted testing, system refinement, and timeline forecasting. In the meantime, the next few Starship flights, particularly Flight 9 through 11, are pivotal. These missions must demonstrate increasing levels of reliability and capability. Flight 9 in particular is under pressure to resolve the problems encountered during Flight 7 and 8. This includes reaching orbit, deploying a payload, and successfully reigniting the ship's engines while in space. These steps are essential to validating Starship's orbital functionality. Perhaps even more critical is the ship's ability to survive re-entry. Flight 9 will need to demonstrate improved heat shield durability and aerodynamic flap control under the extreme heat and pressure of atmospheric return. If the spacecraft also performs accurate and stable descent and deceleration maneuvers, it would prove that the systems are approaching the precision required for a Mechazilla catch. Ideally, Flight 9 accomplishes all these objectives. If not, Flights 10 and 11 will serve as additional opportunities to refine these capabilities. These successive test flights are building blocks leading up to the historic attempt to catch the ship mid-air. Beyond flight validation, ground systems must also be prepared. The catch tower at Pad B has already been constructed and tested with motion and load simulations. The Mechazilla arms have been demonstrated catching and stacking boosters and appear mechanically ready for the next phase. However, for catching the ship, SpaceX is ensuring that every component of the system works in complete harmony. The latest progress includes the orbital launch mount, which has now been relocated to Pad B, lifted, and welded into place. Once this final structural component is integrated, SpaceX will proceed with individual system checks, followed by full system integration testing. With the catch attempt scheduled for later this year, this gives the company ample time to fine-tune and certify the entire launch and recovery infrastructure. It's also worth noting that Pad B may participate in a flight as early as Flight 11. This will provide valuable data and further validate the pad's readiness before it takes on the more complex tasks of catching the ship. Looking further ahead, if SpaceX shifts fully to V3 prototypes, it may need to adapt the launch infrastructure again. That could involve modifying Pad A and Pad B, such as raising the towers to accommodate taller vehicles, or building entirely new facilities. There are indications that Pad A may soon be taken offline for upgrades, hinting at big changes to come. This transition period also depends heavily on production and testing capabilities. SpaceX is aggressively expanding its manufacturing footprint through upgrades to Star Factory and the future Gigabay complex. These developments are aimed at scaling production and integrating the latest vehicle technologies at a rapid pace. We may soon learn more during the upcoming Starbase company talk. While Musk has said the focus will be on Mars-related ambitions, it's expected that he'll discuss the foundational steps required to reach that goal, including plans for catching the ship, which is a necessary precursor to efficient deep space missions. In summary, the coming months are critical for SpaceX. With clear planning, successful test flights, robust ground systems, and production upgrades, the goal of catching the Starship upper stage could become a reality by year's end. Catching the ship with Mechazilla is more than a technical milestone. It's a crucial step toward unlocking the next era of space exploration. This feat underpins a series of ambitious missions that will push Starship far beyond its current limits. First up is the long-awaited orbital refueling test, essential for long-duration missions to the Moon and Mars. Originally expected later this year, it may now shift to early next year, as a successful Mechazilla catch could provide the confidence and readiness needed for such complex in-orbit operations. Next, SpaceX will focus on the Moon. An uncrewed Starship lunar lander is planned as early as next year, paving the way for crewed Artemis missions in 2027 and 2028, marking humanity's return to the Moon after more than 50 years. Simultaneously, SpaceX is pushing toward Mars, targeting an uncrewed mission within 2 years and a potential crewed flight 2 years after that. These bold goals hinge on mastering one foundational skill: reliable landings. Whether it's returning boosters, landing on the Moon or Mars, or preparing vehicles for reuse, everything depends on precision landings. And the Mechazilla catch is the ultimate test of that capability. This change demands flawless navigation, software, mechanical arms, and split-second coordination. But if SpaceX succeeds, it'll revolutionize reusability, cutting costs, accelerating turnaround, and making Starship launches as routine as airline flights. Musk's hint at a catch attempt later this year adds gravity to the moment. In just months, we may witness a Starship return from orbit and be caught mid-air by robotic arms. A bold leap toward the future. This isn't about one mission. It's the start of moon landings, Mars missions, and routine space access. Catching the ship proves the vision is real, and the future is closer than ever. Are you ready to witness history? And to think, it all begins with a catch. SpaceX has revealed it's skipping the V2 booster entirely, and it's absolutely incredible. We're jumping straight from V1 to the groundbreaking V3 design, which many thought was still far off. The first V3 simulation prototype has now debuted, packed with major upgrades that mark a bold new chapter for Starship. What's changed? It's safe to say that ever since Musk's announcement last year, the Starship V3, standing at an incredible 150 meters tall and packed with major upgrades, has been one of the most highly anticipated developments in the program. Most people assumed we wouldn't see this version until at least next year, but in a surprising twist, the V3 booster appears to be arriving much sooner than expected. Recent images strongly suggest that B18, the next booster in SpaceX's production lineup, will be the first to feature the V3 configuration. In the latest update, B18 construction has begun, as the common dome section has been brought to Mega Bay 1 for stacking. Still, those photos alone didn't fully reveal what kinds of changes we could expect in the new version. Perhaps to answer that curiosity, SpaceX recently unveiled a new preview in the form of Test Tank 17, a prototype designed specifically to trial new features before full-scale versions are rolled out. This early look gives us our first glimpse into some of the key upgrades coming with Starship V3. Test Tank 17 first appeared on the morning of May 8th and was quickly transported to the Massey test site for evaluation. There, it was lifted into a secure test cage, though its exact testing purpose remains unclear. What grabbed the most attention, however, was its exterior design, visible during its move. For one, SpaceX has officially confirmed that this is part of the V3 series. The transport cart for the tank was labeled Booster V3 Aft Cart, and the listed weight and load capacity were 27,000 pounds or 12.2 metric tons and 175,000 pounds or 79.4 metric tons, respectively. But the most striking feature, heat shield tiles mounted on the aft or rear section of the booster. That's right, tiles on a super heavy booster. This is surprising, as heat shield tiles were previously only associated with the ship stage, which is the second stage, or upper stage, which re-enters Earth's atmosphere from orbit. However, past missions have shown that the booster's aft section still experiences significant heating during re-entry. Combined with the intense flames and thrust from the engine section, this area endures extreme stress, almost like a burning furnace. Without proper protection, this can result in damage to engines and nearby components. For example, we saw clear damage to B-12 after landing, likely due to heat and engine stress. Situations like these highlight why full reusability hasn't yet been achieved with Super Heavy. So, in order for the system to move closer to complete reusability, improvements like these are essential, and that's exactly what the V3 aims to deliver: greater durability, reliability, and long-term efficiency. Looking closely at the heat shield tiles on Test Tank 17, we can see further innovations. The tiles maintain the familiar hexagonal shape, but now each one includes two noticeable features, likely intended for mounting or reinforcement. This could be attachment points for screws or pins designed to hold each tile more securely and reduce the risk of losing them during flight. Another possibility is that these features serve as spacers, creating a slight gap between the tiles and the rocket's skin to allow for thermal insulation and expansion tolerance during high heat events. Either way, these updates mark a clear step forward in SpaceX's quest to make Starship and Super Heavy not only reusable, but routinely reusable with minimal refurbishment. This glimpse into the V3 architecture confirms that SpaceX is not just incrementally improving Starship, they're laying the foundation for a more robust, high-performance system that will eventually support missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Another standout upgrade to the Starship system is the apparent change in heat shield tile material. Unlike the traditional solid black tiles, which were likely ceramic, the new tiles on Test Tank 17 appear gray and noticeably shinier, suggesting a shift toward metallic heat shield tiles. SpaceX has hinted at this development before, even installing some of these metallic tiles on recent ships for testing. While those earlier flights didn't allow for full verification due to technical issues, the intent was clear. And now with Test Tank 17, it seems SpaceX is ready to push forward with this bold innovation. Why make the change to metal tiles? The benefits are substantial. Metallic tiles can withstand higher temperatures than ceramic ones and are better suited to extreme environments like atmospheric reentry. Combined with Starship's stainless steel skin, which is already far more heat-resistant than materials like aluminum lithium or carbon composites, these tiles create a much more robust thermal protection system. Another advantage is their thinner profile. The tiles on Test Tank 17 appear significantly slimmer than previous versions, which implies improved material strength and efficiency. A thinner tile means less weight, a critical factor in aerospace design. Reducing the mass of the heat shield system allows SpaceX to eliminate the need for the previously massive engine heat shield, simplifying the overall structure. This not only reduces weight, but also cuts down on installation complexity and future maintenance. It's likely we'll soon see these metallic tiles applied to ships, where heat shielding is even more critical. While this current system may not represent the final design, it's a major step toward a more integrated, efficient, and reusable heat shield architecture. SpaceX is expected to refine this approach further, potentially combining it with active cooling systems for added protection, especially on high-speed reentries. Beyond the heat shield, Test Tank 17 also showcases several design tweaks that hint at deeper changes beneath the surface. For example, the tank includes multiple holes and attachment points around its lower section, along with numerous hooks and mounts, possibly for lifting, structural integration, or fueling. On the upper end, there is a mysterious inverted diamond-shaped pin, whose purpose is still unclear, and a small tube head, which may serve a refueling function. Larger ports may be used for propellant loading or venting, while a few small red protrusions could be part of future instrumentation or mounting features, though they don't appear to be pins. Whether these features are unique to this test unit or will make their way into the official V3 prototypes remains to be seen. That will become clearer once we see the next full-scale booster roll out of the production site. As for testing, Test Tank 17 will be put through a rigorous evaluation process. Following its lift into the test cage at the Massey test site, it may be moved to adjacent facilities for cryogenic testing, where it's subjected to extremely cold conditions to simulate fuel loads. It may also face direct flame exposure to evaluate the performance of the new heat shield tiles under high temperature conditions. Later, Test Tank 17 could be transported to Launchpad B to test integration with the orbital launch mount and the chopsticks system. These compatibility checks are crucial for future stacking, lifting, or potential catching operations. Beyond that, many additional tests could take place, some public, others likely behind closed doors. With so many exciting developments packed into this prototype, it's clear that SpaceX is accelerating its progress toward the next generation of Starship. Did you notice any unique details on Test Tank 17? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on SpaceX's incredible journey toward the future of space exploration. With Test Tank 17 now progressing through its test campaign, it's clear that SpaceX is moving full speed ahead towards Starship version 3. It all begins with B-18 or Booster 18. Back in February, SpaceX rolled a new ring stand into the Star Factory, specifically to support the forward ring flange of B-18.1. At the time, many assumed this indicated a transition to V2. But in light of recent developments, it's more likely that B-18 will mark the official beginning of V3. Based on current timelines, assembly may take around a month, meaning we could see the first complete V3 booster by July. Of course, sections of the new booster may appear earlier as they're transported across the site. Looking ahead, if SpaceX maintains its current launch cadence of one flight every 1 to 2 months, we could see the first V3 flight, likely featuring B-18 and Ship V3 as early as Flight 13, possibly in the final 2 months of 2025. If that schedule holds, V3's official debut will come before the year ends, laying the groundwork for accelerated V3 launches in 2026. This transition to V3 carries enormous significance for the future of Starship. As Musk previously revealed, Starship V3 will be massive, up to 150 meters tall, marking it as the largest version to date. This increase in size allows for more propellant storage, which is crucial to support the upgraded Raptor 3 engines, a new iteration focused on being more powerful, efficient, and reliable. Additionally, the payload capacity is expected to exceed 200 metric tons, a huge leap that will transform SpaceX's capabilities in orbital and interplanetary missions. V3 also represents a shift in reliability and reuse. As seen in Test Tank 17, SpaceX is introducing multiple protective upgrades, a metallic heat shield, possibly changes in hot staging, redesigned grid fins for Super Heavy, repositioned and reshaped forward flaps, and general structural reinforcements. All of these enhancements aim to increase durability and reduce refurbishment time, pushing SpaceX closer to full reusability. These advances will be critical as SpaceX begins construction of the orbital refilling system, which is expected to rely on the larger V3 platform. If V3 is ready by late 2025, that infrastructure build-out could begin as the first or second quarter of 2026. Beyond refueling, V3 will also serve as the foundation for crewed exploration variants. The Starship HLS, or Human Landing System, for NASA's Artemis program, designed specifically for lunar surface missions, will build on V3 architecture with major modifications to both its interior and exterior. This version is expected to appear by early to mid-2026 in preparation for an uncrewed landing demo in late 2026, followed by a crewed lunar landing in 2027. Looking even further ahead, V3 may unlock entirely new roles for Starship, like point-to-point cargo transport on Earth, acting as a space station platform, or serving as the first permanent habitat on the Moon or Mars. We're witnessing the dawn of a new Starship era, an era defined by the largest, most powerful, and most reliable rocket ever built. And it all starts here, with Test Tank 17, a transitional prototype ushering in the next chapter. As we wait to see its performance in upcoming tests, we also await the challenges and breakthroughs that will come with the first official V3 prototype. Overcoming those milestones will be what finally launches Starship into its historic role in humanity's future among the stars. Fast, efficient, and cost-effective transport is vital for modern military logistics, and SpaceX's Starship could be the solution. With its huge payload capacity, rapid deployment, and reusability, Cargo Starship is gaining attention as a game-changing military cargo carrier. But how does it fit military goals, and why does this matter for both SpaceX and national defense? We all know Starship as the ambitious vehicle designed to carry humans to Mars. With its massive size, stainless steel structure, use of methane and oxygen fuel, and full reusability, Starship represents a breakthrough in space transportation. These features are perfectly aligned with the long-term vision of enabling human settlement on the Red Planet. However, what may surprise many is that these same design elements that make Starship ideal for interplanetary missions also make it incredibly well-suited for a completely different but equally critical role: military transport. In mid-2021, the U.S. military officially launched an initiative called Rocket Cargo, managed by the U.S. Space Force. The goal of this project was to explore rapid global delivery using space launch vehicles capable of transporting heavy cargo. Interestingly, the conceptual vehicle outlined in the Rocket Cargo program closely matched the profile of SpaceX's Starship. Recognizing the overlap in capabilities, the U.S. Space Force awarded SpaceX a $102 million contract in January of 2022. This 5-year agreement tasked SpaceX with demonstrating the feasibility of delivering cargo for military and humanitarian purposes within specific urgent timeframes. This development caught many by surprise, especially considering that Starship was still in its early testing phases at the time. Yet it underscored the U.S. government's strong interest in Starship's potential beyond space exploration. The military clearly saw something in Starship that extended well beyond Mars. That interest has only grown stronger. More recently, another major branch of the U.S. military, the Air Force, announced the construction of 2 rocket landing pads on Johnston Island, a remote location in the Central Pacific. This initiative is part of the Rocket Cargo Vanguard program, spearheaded by the Air Force Research Laboratory, which is focused on delivering 100 tons of cargo per mission to virtually any point on Earth in highly compressed timelines. Johnston Island's location is no accident. Strategically situated nearly equidistant from the Americas, Asia, and even the polar regions, it's an ideal central hub for rapid global logistics. This mirrors the transportation vision SpaceX has long championed with its Earth-to-Earth Starship concept, using space as a high-speed transit route to deliver payloads around the globe in under an hour. So what exactly makes Starship so appealing for military use? The answer lies in several core strengths. Starship's power is unmatched. The current version of the Super Heavy booster is equipped with 33 Raptor 2 engines, providing over 7,000 tons of liftoff thrust, more than twice that of the legendary Saturn V. Future iterations are expected to be even more powerful. A proposed Raptor 3 engine could boost the thrust to over 9,000 tons, and there's even talk of a 330-ton thrust Raptor 4 variant, which could push liftoff power beyond 10,000 tons. This kind of performance enables Starship to reach speeds of over 16,700 miles per hour, far outpacing existing hypersonic aircraft. That means urgent cargo could be delivered anywhere on the planet in under 60 minutes, an unmatched logistical capability for military missions that require speed and precision. Starship, in its current form, stands 120 meters tall with a 9-meter diameter, making it the largest rocket ever built. Its payload bay, offering around 1,000 cubic meters of usable space, can carry 100 to 200 metric tons of cargo, far exceeding the capacity of any rocket or aircraft today. This scale could transform military logistics, allowing the rapid delivery of armored vehicles, medical supplies, food, or even mobile command centers in a single mission. What truly sets Starship apart is its full reusability. Both the Super Heavy booster and upper stage are designed to return to Earth for quick turnaround, with SpaceX's Mechazilla arms enabling mid-air catching and landing. Plans to land on floating drone ships add even more flexibility. This approach lowers costs, boosts launch frequency, and provides a logistical advantage no other system can match. Affordability is another key factor. Musk has stated that each Starship flight could cost as little as $2 million once full reusability is realized, a remarkably low figure given its capabilities. The use of stainless steel reduces production costs, and its fuel, liquid methane and liquid oxygen, is both cost-effective and easy to handle. These elements make Starship both powerful and economically sustainable. Beyond cargo delivery, Starship is being positioned to serve broader military and government needs. SpaceX has already secured a role in both lanes of the National Security Space Launch Phase 3 contract. While Falcon rockets currently fill that role, Starship is expected to take on missions as it proves itself. Lane 1, covering less demanding launches, offers an ideal testbed for the vehicle, while Lane 2 could follow as Starship matures. SpaceX is also building Starshield, a satellite system tailored for government and military use. Though currently launched by Falcon 9, Starship could eventually take over, enabling faster, larger-scale deployment of satellites to enhance communication, reconnaissance, and defense systems. In short, Starship's unmatched combination of size, speed, reusability, and cost-effectiveness makes it a highly attractive option for military logistics and national defense. Originally designed for Mars missions, its Earth-based applications are proving just as revolutionary. With growing interest from the military and expanding government partnerships, Starship could soon become a central asset in both space exploration and global defense infrastructure. What's your take on Cargo Starship? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to follow the journey of SpaceX and Starship. To be ready for missions like rapid military transport and Earth-to-Earth cargo delivery, SpaceX and Starship still face several major challenges, perhaps the most important of which is proving the system's reliability under demanding conditions. In both the military cargo transport concept and the Earth-to-Earth plan, Starship is expected to launch into orbit, travel at hypersonic speeds, then re-enter the atmosphere and land at a precise target. This operational profile is key to achieving record-breaking delivery times, transporting heavy cargo anywhere in the world in under an hour. But while this vision is bold and inspiring, it also presents complex engineering challenges. One of the most pressing is Starship's need to consistently survive orbital re-entry. Despite rapid progress, Starship has yet to achieve a fully successful orbital flight, followed by a controlled landing. While test flights have demonstrated incremental advancements, the vehicle is still in an experimental phase. Earlier this year, 2 test missions ended with significant setbacks during various stages of flight. Though these flights yielded valuable data, they also highlighted the technical gaps SpaceX still needs to address, particularly in the areas of engine reliability, heat shield endurance, and aerodynamic control using the vehicle's flaps. Re-entry is a particularly demanding phase for any spacecraft, and even more so for a vehicle of Starship's size and complexity. At orbital velocities, the heat and structural stress during descent are immense. Starship's stainless steel hull and thermal protection system must withstand those extreme conditions while preserving the integrity of the vehicle for reuse. This is critical not just for military missions, but for SpaceX's broader goal of building a fully reusable system. Flight 9, the next major test in the Starship program, is being prepared with extraordinary care. SpaceX is conducting rigorous tests and implementing modifications to improve the design. This flight will be an important opportunity to verify the performance of updated systems and demonstrate that Starship is moving closer to operational readiness. Beyond surviving re-entry, the ability to land reliably is another challenge SpaceX must solve. While the booster stage, also known as Super Heavy, is designed to return and be caught using the Mechazilla tower, the Starship upper stage must also land with precision. This requirement becomes even more crucial in military applications where flexible and reliable landing options are essential. As seen in the Air Force's plan to build a Starship landing pad on Johnston Island, the military is serious about integrating this capability. SpaceX is currently working toward performing a soft splashdown in the ocean with the Starship upper stage. If successful, this could pave the way for an attempted return to Starbase and landing using the Mechazilla arms as soon as Flight 10. The rapid construction of Pad B and associated systems supports this goal, showing that SpaceX is planning for increasingly complex recovery operations in the near term. However, relying solely on ground towers like Mechazilla limits where Starship can land. To increase operational flexibility, SpaceX may need to revisit the idea of installing landing legs on Starship. This would allow it to land on a wider variety of surfaces, especially in remote or undeveloped locations where infrastructure is minimal. While such a change would depart from the current design philosophy, it could be implemented on military-specific variants of Starship to meet defense requirements without affecting the core commercial model. Flexibility is a key asset in military logistics, and landing legs would open up a wider range of mission profiles. The importance of upcoming test flights cannot be overstated. Each launch not only advances Starship toward becoming a reliable launch vehicle, but also directly supports the practical requirements of programs like Cargo Starship. These missions will help validate the systems needed to carry out real-world cargo transport operations and demonstrate that Starship is ready to perform when called upon. Another significant hurdle SpaceX faces is increasing the production rate of Starship vehicles. For a cargo transport system to be effective, especially one intended for military use, a high launch cadence is essential. Multiple vehicles must be built, refurbished, and ready to launch at a moment's notice. This scale of operations also aligns with SpaceX's interplanetary goals, where hundreds of flights will be necessary to establish a sustained human presence on Mars. To meet rising demand, SpaceX is investing heavily in its production infrastructure. The original manufacturing area has been replaced by the Star Factory, a new facility built around a linear production line inspired by Tesla's Gigafactories. This setup allows for faster, more efficient manufacturing of Starship hardware, using automation and modern techniques. Nearby, the old high bay has been dismantled to make room for the Giga Bay, a significantly larger facility focused on accelerating assembly, testing, and refurbishment. A similar setup is underway at SpaceX's Florida launch site, indicating the company's goal of scaling production on both coasts. These upgrades mark just the beginning. As the Starship program matures, SpaceX is expected to implement even faster turnaround times, higher production rates, and advanced quality control systems. These enhancements are essential to support Starship's dual roles in commercial and military operations. Even as SpaceX strengthens ties with the U.S. government, it's important that the company maintain ethical standards on how Starship is used. While supporting national defense is part of its mission, Starship could continue to serve as a tool for global development, peace, and long-term security. With its unmatched power and reach, the platform must not be weaponized or used in ways that could destabilize international relations. Responsible use of this technology is a duty SpaceX must take seriously. Starship's advantage in military logistics is just one example of how it outperforms traditional aerospace systems. Its unique mix of speed, capacity, flexibility, and affordability makes it a strong candidate for defense applications, while also laying the foundation for bigger goals, building the infrastructure needed to support future space missions and human expansion beyond Earth. But reaching those goals won't be simple. Technical challenges, logistical complexity, and strategic decisions all lie ahead. As SpaceX prepares for its next round of test flights, it's clear that the effort isn't just about building a better rocket. It's about redefining how we think about transportation, both on our planet and across the solar system. This has been Kevin with Great SpaceX. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date with yours truly in the latest details of SpaceX's progress. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, curiosity, imagination, and inspiration will always follow you as long as you keep looking up.